Hello. So today I'm asking to be the host of the podcast, and I want to be the guest. Okay, that's gonna be the story, right, guys? All right. So ChatGPT already gave me the answer. It said, "Let me start here. You've said that everything you desire seems to come back to one root: freedom. I want you to take us back to the moment you realized that freedom wasn't just something nice to have, but something you couldn't survive without. What happened in your life that made staying small, staying put, or staying silent feel more dangerous than living?" Nice question. I think that's a very hard question to answer. Um, the moment I realized that freedom wasn't just something nice to have, but something you couldn't survive without. I think the moment where I realized about freedom, my craving of freedom, is when I was in Bali, obviously, because I had a lot of freedom that I never had in my entire life. I've been able to build my life from scratch without this social construct and expectations. I'm blank canvas. I literally got the freedom to draw something in that blank canvas to what I'm gonna present myself and how I want to perceive myself. You know what I mean? So that's the moment I realized, God damn, I think this is why I always wanted to like go into overseas, moving and everything. It rooted the freedom because I think I always gonna mention this part of my life where I went to boarding school where I don't have so much access to the outside world that that made me realize how valuable freedom is. So whenever people are try to put me on the rules that didn't make sense or try to like control me over things like authority or something, I refuse to have it because I also being the victim of it back in the day, like not be able to actually choose what make me happy. It's just for me. What happened in my life that made staying small, staying put, or staying silent feel more dangerous than leaving? Well, I didn't see that as dangerous thing, but the moment where I actually finally had the opportunity to encounter a lot of people from around the world, I realized how small I've been living my life. You know what I mean? Like, I've been living in this country for an 20 plus year, and I let these people control how I think and how I perceive something. When actually there are tons, billion of people that live outside of this certain area that think completely different, and I found that really amazing. And I love differences. I don't know, it's just so beautiful. So me staying in one area, it's kind of draining in some way because of that. You've also been very clear that you'd rather be alone than be with someone who doesn't align with you. In a world that constantly tells women to compromise, to be patient, to give it time, how did you build the courage to say, I won't settle, even if it means walking alone for a while? And what has being single taught you about yourself that a relationship never could? Okay. I've been very clear that I'd rather be alone than with someone that it's not aligned with me. And the moment I decided to like want settle and I comfortable being alone, I think in my self journey, right? I think at the end of 2023, one of my closest friends are leaving me because they need to move to another island or something like that. I forgot. So that's when the reality hits. Like I felt like I'm so alone and lonely, even though I got so many friends. I mean, I'm not cutting them off. But it's lonelier than I am right now when I already cut them off. You know what I mean? So at that very moment, and then I've been a place where I think I need help, but again, if I expected people to help me, there's not gonna get me anywhere. So I will ended up alone. I think that's something that God tried to teach me to be sit with myself and being comfortable with my own company to help myself out instead of putting on this task on somebody else to fill the emptiness, and instead just learning how to survive alone and filling my own cup before I filling everybody's cup, if that makes sense to you. And I think even before the self growth journey, my whenever I'm sad, whenever I'm stressed, like I couldn't handle to communicate with people, and I always gonna isolate myself, and not gonna talk to somebody. I'm not gonna even like respond to their text to like just disappear from the social media thing, because I had a lot of friends from another city a lot when I was younger. So what how we communicate is through social media, and when I'm stressed and too much to handle, I will be completely disappeared out of nowhere without telling them anything, and I don't think I had the need to tell them where am I going. So I think that's always been my trait whenever I feel sad. So I and then also if I rooted that more, I think I also always been alone. Like for example, when I was in junior high school, I think I always went to another city by train all by myself. Even though I'm such a young little girl, I think I always enjoy doing all of that by myself and thinking that I'm just so brave for doing that. I think I always been brave enough to be alone. But at the moment, I'm so fragile on being alone and like super lonely. And I think it's also because of my boarding school thing. I always hang out with my friends 24 hours. Like I was gonna have this company, and with them I never had the chance to be by myself. And so yeah, I think after that phase of mine, I think it's changed my life completely on how I am perceiving being alone. I felt lonelier than ever at that moment, but um I won't settle very much. The moment where honestly I don't know, but I think I realized the world around me at that moment, it's so toxic and a lot of trauma, and it make me feel like shit. And at the moment also at the same time I learned that I have zero energy to put myself in that kind of environment anymore. So I decided to go, and I decided to like learn how to feel comfortable being on my own, even though it's hard sometimes. But like I push myself to it, because this is the thing, when the first time I kind of learn how to be alone, going out alone, is that my biggest fear is like how if I'm bumped to somebody that I know, but it never happening. So it's just in my mind, and whenever I just try to put myself out there all by myself, it's just never been more amazing than that. So yeah. You study language and you've talked before about how words are never neutral. They carry power, hierarchy, and control. How has understanding language changed the way you see a relationship, especially when it comes to who get to speak, who get to believe, and who gets silenced? And have you ever noticed people reacting differently to you once you start naming things clearly? A lot of question. Oh my god. Anyway, but I study language and I've talked before about how words are never neutral. They carry power, hierarchy, and control. Did I ever talk like that? I don't know. But I think because I started to have a lot of friends from another country, yeah, they probably did. Because, travel is a privilege. And I know the first time I know that actually Europeans are very easily travel to Indonesia, and Indonesia is so hard for us to like get to out of the country. Like you need to get a job first, you need to wait for years, for you to like actually made it out of this country. It's so crazy to me. So that when I realized about all of this hierarchy in the world. So yeah, how has understanding language changed the way you see a relationship, especially when it comes to who gets to speak, can't believe, and who gets silenced? Did I ever say that? Understanding language changed the way you see a relationship. Well, maybe it's just like different perception on the Western mindset and Indonesian mindset. I think, yeah. It is about like caging on like in a little bubble and seeing in a bigger picture, I think. I know what you're talking about. And have you ever noticed people reacting differently to you once you start naming things clearly? Holy shit, yeah. They thought I'm gonna be alone forever. They thought that I'm selfish. They thought I'm insane. They thought I'm losing my mind. But who cares? Because I also learned to like not listen to what any other thought about me because I don't want to be them in the future anyway. I'm not even listening to my parents. Why do I need to listen to your saying? You've had big dreams about crossing borders, living, walking, loving beyond one country. I don't want to ask this as travel goes. I want to ask it emotionally. What does going abroad represent for you on a deeper level? Is it about opportunity and an escape or finally becoming the version of yourself you've always felt inside? I think I started one of that when I was 15, 16, and I think it's rooted in freedom because I never had that for 6 years. I've been caged in this little jail. I cannot go anywhere. Even just Indonesia itself, I cannot explore. I was here. I don't know what the fuck happening outside. So I remember the first time I'm out of that jail, I felt like, oh my god, the world is so beautiful and I didn't get the chance to say it. What the fuck? You know? So I think that's why I think everything that I want right now rooted in a core desire of freedom. Um, but what is really meant for me to going abroad? I think I always thought that I want to study abroad, but then I think I really want the freedom. I really want to see the world. I want to see a lot of things because, yeah, again, it rooted in freedom. I think it's also, and if I dive deep into it, as the years goes by, it's also rooted in opportunity, identity, also privileges. When people dream of being an immigrant, they want the visa, they want the opportunity and the privilege that they would never have if they stay in one place. You know what I mean? So it's really is that deep and very political, and I can like go on and on for like hours. Why? Because I also chasing the privileges, but it also rooted in freedom. At some point, you started cutting off people, not out of anger, but out of clarity. How did you know the difference, and what did you gain energetically when you stopped giving access to people who couldn't meet you where you were going? Yeah, at first it rooted in anger, but now it became a clarity. How did I know the difference out of anger and clarity? Sometimes I didn't know the difference. I just want to cuddle people. Like, I mean, I don't have the mandatory thing for me to like keep people in my life, right? Like, I can either choose to talk to you and to not. You know what I mean? Like, that's my freedom to choose. So, whenever I don't want to hang out with somebody, I simply gonna say no. It doesn't mean that we're never gonna be friends. It's just that I am so sick of your shit, maybe, but we're still gonna talk. But not as deep as I gonna be, if that makes sense. So it's not like cutting off completely, it's just like um redirecting who I'm gonna put my energy towards, if that makes sense to you. So cutting off people out of clarity and anger, it's both valid and it's fine as long as I'm gonna stay in my boundaries, whatever. It's just like choosing. I mean, I've told before. I think cutting off people only gonna um. Only gonna happen one time in your life, and if you succeed, it's not gonna be like cutting off people. It's just like redirecting your energy, because the concept of cutting off people, it's like when you know these people forever and you had a lot of memories and you realize it's not no longer serving you and instead it's draining your shit, and then you cut these people off for after knowing them for years. That's like the concept of cutting off people, and it's only happened once in my life, because I cut off most of my high school friends, and then after that it just rejected my energy. Like when I met someone new, and then with I'm gonna ask myself whether or not I'm enjoying my time around her, and If I'm not, then I'm just simply not gonna be friends with them. It's not a cutting off shit. It's the directing energy. And when I meet someone new, and then like if I like you, I like the conversation that we had, then I'm gonna ask you for another hanging out session, and like I want to talk to you about something more and discuss more. This thing. And you talk openly about money, power, and opportunity. Things many people are uncomfortable naming. What did you learn by observing who gets opportunity easily and who doesn't? And how did that shape your belief that you don't need plan B, you need full commitment to the life you're building? What did you learn by observing who gets opportunity easily and who doesn't? Oh, a lot of things. I think that about people who get opportunity easily, that they're gonna take the risk and actually believe that they in the right track and believe actually they're gonna get whatever the fuck they want. When someone that don't get a lot of opportunity, probably they're not even looking for the opportunity, you know what I mean? They wait for the things to comes their way. Well, actually you need to fucking catch the bus, bitch. And how did that shape you believe that you don't need plan B? Well, I do have a plan B sometimes, but sometimes I do not. I just trust my intuitions. I mean, if you are already working on things to grow within yourself, you will learn eventually that the answer is gonna be always in yourself and not others. And then you don't need anybody's opinion actually. Just gonna ask yourself about the intuitions and it's always right, you know? So and you're ambitious, but you're also deeply introspective. So I want to ask, what is the quiet fear that comes with wanting a big life? Quiet fear. I think losing myself, it's like my biggest fear now. I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be, you know, built again my self group. But I don't think it's gonna be breaking that easily because I put it strong enough, baby. Is it failing? No, I don't. I'm never scared of failing. There's no such a thing as failing. As long as you try, that means you succeed. The moment that I give up, that's when I failed. But I didn't. Being understood and outgrowing the people you love, or actually getting everything you ask for and having no one to blame but yourself. What am my biggest fear? Being misunderstood. That could be really scary, being misunderstood, but I don't care. There are 7 billion people on earth, and eventually I will meet someone that it's gonna be, oh my god, understand me to the core. Every piece of my shit. Outgrowing people you love, I don't scared of that. I embrace that. Are actually getting everything you ask for. Oh my god, why do I fear that? Having no one to blame but yourself. Oh yeah, even now I have no one to blame but myself. Even though sometimes I blame my parents for who I'm becoming, but you know what? I still gonna change me, and that's gonna be my mistake if I'm not trying to make it even better. So I've already blamed myself for it and just fix it. But I didn't hate. I just being introspective. You've said before that you're no longer interested in being impressive. You want to be aligned. What does alignment feel like in your body, in your daily choices, in the way you love and work? And how do you know when something looks good on paper, but it's meant? I don't want to being impressive because like people idea of impressive, it's different. People want different thing from their life. People often like being impressed on, I don't know, probably sport or academic or music or a lot of things that it's different. And if you had a lot of work like inward inside of yourself, then you will know the answer because the answer is always inside of our body. So what does alignment feel like in my body is that I know I like it. I know that this is something that I want to see and want to have in my life. You know, others' accomplishment, for example, they got better company than I am, but and then I question myself if I were in that position, I don't think that I want it. The thing that I want to see is exactly this and exactly what I chose to do, so I don't need to compare it to anybody because what we want is different. What I want, it's not what you want, and what you want is not what I want. So we're irrelevant, so that's how I see through the things that I like and how I know I'm being aligned or not. Even in my daily choices, again, I've done so much inner work. I know my intuition, I know what I like. I don't need to find the answer outside. I know in here. And I want to end this with, if someone is listening to you right now, someone who feels restless, ambitious, misunderstood, and a little ahead of their environment, what would you tell them about trusting their inner coherence, even when the world hasn't caught up yet? Like, I believe in you. I believe in you and I understand you. I've seen you and you will get there someday and you will prove them wrong. And I trust you and I see you and I believe in you, bro. I believe in you. If there's no one else in the world believing in you, then I'm fucking dead.